Greetings, my name is Rudimentary Rob. Welcome back to my Astroneer series. Today I guess we can sum this one up as it's buggy time. So get yourself strapped in, get ready for a few more base expansions and dealing with a couple of issues, getting all the bits and pieces together for our large rover. Alright, so the first issue, we need to be able to make aluminium alloy. Now, aluminium alloy is a combination of aluminium, which we have some, we brought some with us, and some copper, which we don't have. I have looked far and wide for some malachite that we could smelt into copper. Now, I'm sure copper is plentiful on this planet. Yeah, I'm just not really finding any. So, what we've done is we have a trade platform. That's what we set up right at the start of the episode. And the trade platform essentially allows you to trade scrap for other materials. So, on the trade platform, we can in fact purchase malachite, but we need to be able to come up with scrap. So we are going to need a recycler grinder type thing, and we're just working out which is the, I won't just say the cheapest, but the one that's going to get the job done. And at this stage, I do settle on making one of the smaller ones, otherwise known as the medium shredder, simply because we do definitely have the materials for it. It's not a lot of effort to print it off, and we do have some suitable scrap small enough to go into this, like debris, I should say. We have some suitable debris to go in that will actually fit inside this thing, and that's the important feature here. You can't use one of these little guys to grind anything that's any bigger than something you could essentially clip on your backpack. So I'll go through more about that side of it in a moment. Here we're just getting this one set up, ready to go. Now we need to go about gathering the suitably small debris that we can sort of crunch it up in that. Alright, I think we can categorize this under, here's some we prepared earlier. Now, with the medium shredder that we made, it will only take quite small, debris. So the easiest stuff that I have that's small enough to go into it is what's left of these caches. And so you can just gather them up onto, a little storage thing. They will look like that when you've fully, filled in each little attachment point on there. And then you just grab one of those, drop it into the medium shredder, and it will produce scrap. Now, it's fairly slow, not glacially so, but if you're expecting it to take 5 seconds, I certainly won't set you up for disappointment by saying that. Definitely takes a good couple of minutes. Now, while we're waiting for that to run, we've got enough methane for now. So what we're going to do is switch over to hydrogen. There's a lot of planets that have hydrogen, so I'm not looking to gather a lot of it. I just want a few containers of it there just in case it becomes needed in the future. Now, spin on quite a number of minutes later, and we have finished grinding everything, and we can see there we have 6 scrap, and that is going to give us 6 malachite. So we send the rocket off. Now, again, this isn't instant. It does take, I don't know, 30 seconds or a minute or so. You're going to... I'm not actually cutting anything out of this so that you can get a bit of an idea of how long it actually takes for the rocket to return. Now, the EXO event one is essentially the same, except it's event based. So you won't be sending scrap up, you'll send whatever the event wants. In the case of the Christmas one, you got these fancy bauble things that you can find and make. And that is, other than the fact that the EXO one doesn't attach to a platform, it's pretty much the same sort of functionality. Now we got our 6 malachite back. We're going to pop this in here so we can get it all smelted. We're only going to need a couple at this stage, but I ended up making sure that we had some spares just in case we need them in the future. So with some copper smelted very shortly, we're getting ready to make a couple of aluminium alloy as part of our getting materials ready to make our large rover. Alright, we now have all the bibs and bobs we need to make our large rover, so we hit the print button. Yeah, this takes a while. Now's a good time to go off and, start printing off all of the other bits and pieces that you want to attach to the rover. So we're looking at, alright, we need a drill, we need the paver, we're going to need a seat. There's all the other little odds and ends that we're going to need. Now, the rover, we're all good there. This thing is monstrous. It's very slow to move around. I'm just putting it out here clear of the base because we're going to have a few odds and sods that we're going to want to attach to it. Not to mention, it turns, but not as I'll say tightly as the tractor. So giving a little bit of extra space definitely doesn't hurt. I certainly wouldn't be assembling it right in the middle of your base. You may have some issues trying to get it back out again, depending on how tight your layout is. Now, the methane is very important because we need that in addition to the resin and the quartz to make silicon. Now, this was the pain point that we had with making the paver, and that's the reason why we weren't able to make one previously, is we did not have access to methane. But now that we do, we're able to make silicon, and yeah, that will allow us to then go ahead and make the paver. We've got a few other odds and sods going on here. We need to make some tungsten carbide for the drill, and then we'll be wanting... let me have a think. On this planet, we're probably going to need an oxygenator. We're going to need some storage. And I dare say, because the first goal is going to be to go out and activate the 2 gateways, we're not sure exactly how much power we're going to need. I mean, you can look it up if you want to, but I'm trying to avoid that as much as I can. I mean, if it's something I can look up in the in-game wiki, I'm always happy to do that. But sort of spoilery type stuff, I try and stay away from it unless I get really stuck or I'm not sure. And it's something that's going to potentially cause me huge amounts of wasted time. So we managed to get our rover together, and this is what it looks like for now. We have the paver on the front, but it's not going to work because it needs a soil canister with some soil in it before it will actually start putting a road down. I didn't bother taking it off because we're just essentially taking the rover out to find some things that we need. Now, we did run out of clay, and we have come across clay, but not very commonly. I mean, that is pretty normal. Clay isn't, I will say, as plentiful as things like compound or resin. But I would go one step further and say that whatever your normal first tier minerals are on a given body, clay is even less common than that. So probably on a similar level to graphite, I'd say, is about how common clay tends to be. I mean, sometimes you will find it more in bigger amounts, and you might get lucky and stumble across it more like earlier in your explorations. Yeah, we haven't been that lucky. The couple of bits of, or the one bit of clay I think that we found was not a very big deposit at all. And now we're just taking our rover out here to see if we can find some more clay. And I'm not entirely sure what biome I'm going to find it in. I imagine it's going to be out in this kind of a biome, and it might be in one of these little craters or something of that nature. So, yeah, we've got a bit of driving in our future while we try and locate some more clay. Now, I've had a bit of a chat about it before we made one, but these large rovers are quite capable over these terrains. I found that the only thing that really holds you up is the big rocks and these stupid flower things. You do tend to get stuck on those, but just about everything else you can deal with it if you take it slow and steady. It will go up almost a vertical surface, so not a bad way to get around. Certainly a lot less bumpy than the what's the word? The tractor. Yeah, the tractor is a bit of a pain, particularly where there's a lot of the smaller rocks around that you can't get over. You always get a wheel stuck on them. Anyway, we're continuing our search here, and other than a few plants wanting to blow us up, oh, hello. Yeah, I'll take that. Medium batteries are what you tend to find in these broken down shelters. The one time that I didn't get a medium battery was when I got the full-size RTG. So, yeah, either way, these little broken down shelters are definitely... I wouldn't skip one without investigating what's in it, to be honest. Particularly if you don't have, 100% of your power going, and honestly, depending on your need, I could make the argument that you probably never have 100% of your desired power running, in which case, yeah, I'd be raiding those broken down shelters 100% of the time. Anyway, we're given our lack of success with clay so far, we're still going to be pushing on, but we are also decided that we're going to, well, just pick up whatever else we can find. More particularly, we're going to grab a few science samples along the way as well, stuff for the research chambers. I dare say by the time we get back, we're probably going to be in need of some more materials for them, so we may as well pick a few up while we're out and about. All right, now we're talking. All right, this is clay, and we finally found some. So we're going to dig up a bunch of this. Generally speaking, you don't get more than, if you get a handful of bits of clay, then I think you're doing all right. But we're going to mine literally all of it that we can here. And then we're going to be able to turn around and head back to base and resume our efforts to get our final rover, well, final in its current form, ready to go. Alright, so we smelted up some clay. We're spitting out our drill Mark 1 drill, which is generally enough to get around on a planet. For some of the later planets where a Mark 1 drill is going to be a complete waste of time, but we will have access to the materials that we will need to make the Mark 2 or the Mark 3. So for the moment, this one, it'll do well enough. Simply because we've got a better drill on our hand tool. So if we do end up running, like if we end up coming unstuck because of the drill not being on the vehicle not being able to proceed, we can still kind of proceed on foot if it comes down to it. So yeah. Anyway, I've got enough of these chess pieces, these dark chess pieces, that I was starting to sort of lose track of, how many pawns I had, or have I got enough, bishops, queens, kings, etc. So I thought I'd set them up on a couple of medium storage, and I put all the pawns on one side and all of the higher pieces on the other side. And it's, we're actually, embarrassing to say, we are actually getting quite close to having a full set of the dark pieces. I believe, if not in this episode, by the next episode, the only thing we're going to be missing is probably a handful of pawns, and I will just keep my eye out for those. They are some of the more common pieces, so I'm not particularly worried that we won't find them. In the past, the ones that I've struggled to find has been kings and queens, but we got those out of the way fairly early in the piece. Now, going back to our rover situation, we were looking at what kind of large storage we could get on the back of it. And I was eyeballing the next one up and the one up from that. Unfortunately, both require steel. Now, we've got the carbon, we've got the iron. The problem is we do not have the argon. We don't have access to that at the moment. So anything involving steel is currently out of reach. Look, it's probably not going to be that far down the track before we do have the ability to make steel, but for the moment, it's just out of reach. Now, back to the equipment for the rover. As I mentioned before, I'm not sure exactly how much power we're going to need to activate the gateway. Generally, the moons are fairly, I'll say, cheap on power relative to the planet that they're around. That said, though, often they can be slightly more, but they're not like a huge step up. They're usually a couple of power away from whatever the planet that they orbit is. So I don't actually know how much I need for Visenya, so that's kind of a bit of a moot point here. So for the moment, because we're on a moon, there's only 2 gateways. I'm reasonably sure that 2 medium generators, so that's 18 power, plus the one small one that I inevitably carry around with me. I'm pretty sure that's going to be enough. But moreover, what I'm going to be ending up doing is the full-size RTG that we have. I'm actually going to be putting that on the rover as well. So in reality, we'll have about 23 power, and I'm pretty confident that that's overkill, because I think it's not until you get to the outer planets like Glacio and Atrox where you need over 20 power. So I'm pretty sure we're going to have enough. But we'll test that out towards the end of this episode and make sure that our gut feeling on this one is correct. We're getting real close to having the completed rover here, so much so that we're actually moving the full-size RTG onto the back of the rover here. We've got a bit of storage, we've got our generators, we've still got to load up a little bit of carbon, which is why I've got it on my backpack. We're going to pop some carbon onto the rover. Now, the generators aren't going to be there to power the rover at all. The only time I'm going to be turning them on is when I'm activating a gateway. So that carbon is going to last me a long time. In fact, having 2 extra carbon on the rover is very likely overkill on a moon, given I've only got 2 gateways to activate. So, speaking of activations and gateways and getting on the road, it's that time. So we're setting course for our familiar purple dot on the horizon on the compass, and we don't have to deal with the rough terrain. Look, how awesome is this? We are drilling a road, like we're drilling a tunnel, and the paver is putting down a road. So I don't have to worry about holes appearing underneath. The paver is taking care of all of those. Whenever I've got soil in the soil canister, the paver will always put down a road for me. And the drill, look, unless I run into materials that the drill can't handle, and that's not gonna happen on the surface of this moon, that's for sure. We can just, gradually chew our way through. Anyone who's been watching my Glitch Walker series has probably already seen this before quite a lot. However, anyone who's sort of saving that for a rainy day and they've only been watching my this regular Astroneer series, this is the first time I've had this configuration running. So with the drill, the paver on the large rover. But as you can see, for getting around these lumpy planets, there's just no substitute. Which is why I was so keen to get one up and running as soon as possible. And that's kind of why I ended up sort of doing things in the order that I've done them. It's worked out favourably as far as the missions are concerned anyway. So I don't think it's much of a sidetrack at all. Speaking of sidetracks, though, look at what we just found. We found in the midst of the rubble of a extra large wind turbine, we've found an extra large wind turbine. Look at that thing. It is huge. Now, we can't carry it the way, well, I mean, we can carry it like that, obviously, but there's nowhere on the rover for it while it's like that. So we're going to set that one aside. We'll come back with a packager. That will shrink down to fit on a large socket on the rover, and we'll be able to take it back to base later. For the moment, though, we're going to finish picking this base clean, and we're going to move on with the task at hand. Alright, as we get set up here to activate the gateway, we've just got to take the two items off the front to get access to the plug socket. We can plug it in, and then it does turn out that we needed both generators to get this going, so we'll get those running and get this gateway active. While that's happening in the background, I'll let you know we've reached the end of the episode. If you've enjoyed it, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and to consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. Until next time, my name is Rudimentary Rob. Thank you very much for watching, and make sure you have yourself an absolutely fantastic day.